Welcome, everyone, to the final episode of Season 3 for School on a Mission podcast. I am Gina Watts, here with my co-host, the ever-curious Andrew McPeak.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Great to have you, friend. If you believe school should be more than just essays and GPAs, if you believe EQs are just as important as IQs, and if you expect amazing things from the next generation, then you're in the right place, because we believe that too.
Absolutely. And today's episode is something special, not just because it's the final episode of season 3, but it's special because we're talking about legacy, the kind of steady, courageous, wise leadership that can only come from showing up day after day, year after year for students, families, and teams.
Which brings us to today's question of the day.
Oh,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's one piece of wisdom you've received from someone older or further ahead in their journey that you still carry with you today?
Okay, this one was actually pretty easy for me because I got to shout out my friend, Gary Strack.
Okay.
So Gary is, I think he's 84.
Mm-hmm.
He is a mentor of mine currently.
Okay.
And he and I have been talking for years now. And most of the time it's on my drive to work. So it's like 7 a.m. and I call up phone calls with Gary and we talk, and it's sort of like I'm sitting on the front porch, and it's amazing. So anyways, he's given me so many nuggets of wisdom. He's a former C-suite executive from the healthcare industry, but he's also just a wise leader who just thinks on everything and reads, well read, well thought, all those things. But I want to share with you something he gave me not long ago. He sent me an email, the subject line was "Tiny Thoughts from Gary." This is like what it's like to be Gary's friend, and I love it. So here's what he said. He said, "Andrew, life comes down to two things. Number one, knowing how to get what you want. And number two, knowing what's worth wanting." Isn't that good?
That's really good.
I was like, dang, Gary. He's so good. Anyways, I've carried that with me for only about 6 months now, because that's how long ago he sent the email, but I'll be thinking about that for a long time. Do I know what's worth wanting? And do I know how to get it? Am I pursuing it?
That was great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Can you send me an email too?
He listens, so he's probably listening right now.
I love it.
Thank you, Gary.
I love it.
All right, Gina, you're up.
Okay, so for me, the first thing that came to my mind, first of all, I'm very, very fortunate to be mentored by so many people over the course of my lifetime and having deep relationships with generations before me. So I'm very grateful for that. But the first thing that came to mind, this episode's about legacy, and I've been in the Maxwell leadership ecosystem for like 13 years.
You're a regular around here.
I am. And probably about 11 or 12 years ago, I'm not quite sure when, because he's probably said it before this moment, but this is when I remember him saying it. John Maxwell said in a training that I was in with him, he said, your legacy, it's about what will live beyond you, not what lives because of you. Legacy is about what will live beyond you, not what lives because of you. And actually, it's shaped the way that I lead people. I am constantly thinking about not just systems, even though that's a big part of it, but how am I helping people create sustainable systems, repeatable processes? How can they also replace themselves? So often I've encountered people, being a 20-year career development professional, career coach, I encounter so many people that often feel stuck. They are not challenged. They are not motivated. And honestly, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about, actually we started off this season talking about purpose and why. And I encounter so many people that have forgotten their why and are frustrated about their situation, and so they feel stuck. And the reality is that when you start, if you think about it in terms of a career, when you start a career, when you start a new job, you should be automatically replacing yourself from the first day. You just should be. That's how, because actually that's how you create momentum.
Yep.
That's also how you create multiplication, but you are creating space for you to grow
Yeah.
in your role as well as to grow out of it.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds a little fearful for some of you.
Yeah.
And it might sound fearful for leaders who are like, don't be telling people that. Like, they're going to say yes to a job and try to move on.
If somebody else has my job, what am I going to do?
Yeah, don't think like that.
Yeah.
Because then what happens is one, you create a great environment where people now are focused on legacy instead of focusing on a ladder.
Yeah.
Hello, snap the fingers, right? We're not focused just on climbing a ladder. We're focused on building legacy. And also it's like your mission, right? If you believe in the mission of the organization or the work that you do, then you should want it to last beyond you.
Yeah.
It shouldn't like fall apart once you have to like leave or go somewhere or even go on vacation, right? Like,
I know. How many people right now are listening to this and they have jobs where when they go on vacation, nothing happens?
Right. Or your phone blows up constantly and you're not actually really on vacation, right? That is just not.
Somebody just got convicted.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
So let me get this straight, Gina.
Yep.
John Maxwell said one phrase, and you got a lot to say on that.
A whole lot. It might even be a book.
Isn't this amazing how that works?
So many words.
Yeah.
So many words.
But I mean, it's true. Like a simple truth and the right person at the right time can shape the road ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Gina, the person who understands this better than anybody is this woman that we've got for us today to hear from.
Yes. And Mrs. Linda Jolly, I'm stuttering over myself because this interview was so transformational for me. I was so privileged to spend time with Mrs. Jolly. And my friends, you are in for a treat. Mrs. Jolly has served in education for over 5 decades, and she's still going strong. 55 years in, friends. You heard me. 5.
Amazing.
She currently serves as the Deputy Director of School Improvement and state and federal programs at Region 18 Education Service Center in Texas. From supporting district and campus leaders to overseeing compliance and coaching for continuous improvement, Linda's work is all about equipping others to lead well and help students thrive. Throughout her career, she served in both campus and district administrative roles, bringing deep wisdom, sharp insight, and an unwavering heart for students to everything she does. Today, we'll learn from her journey, hear her reflections on emotional resilience, and gain meaningful insight into the kind of leadership that truly lasts. She is a sage with powerful wisdom to share. Let's meet Mrs. Jolly.
Okay. Right now I'm Linda Jolly, and presently working here at Region 18 Education Service Center. And it's one of 20 educational service centers throughout Texas. And we serve the region, one of the largest geographical regions in the state of Texas. So we serve about 33 school districts along with charters and private schools and homeschools too as well. So I started my career in education as a teacher and a coach. I got a volleyball scholarship through Texas Tech and played volleyball in Tech during my college years. And then I was ready to go out there and start teaching and coaching, and thought that I was the miracle worker. And the coaching was, I was just going to be the person to just turn things around, and we're going to have a championship team every time. And boy, were my bubbles busted. Okay. I went to teaching and coaching, did that for 15 years. And then after that, I left coaching because I got pregnant, I had a daughter, I have a wonderful husband. We've been married for 51 years. And so I've been in education now for 55 years. So serving in different capacities. But teaching was my first love, along with coaching. And I was teaching, coaching. Then I became a counselor, a guidance counselor at one of the high schools down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then I was able to get into administration after coaching. and felt like that was a calling that I had. And so I got into administration, and my first job was at a central office administration as director of guidance and counseling, and also testing coordinator for our district in Midland. Did that for several years, and the thing was that uh, my whole thing was I was always I liked the question about a service in education. I've always felt that there's a calling and that I needed to serve, and I think I even learned that from my dad. He brought us to believe that we serve others instead of expecting others to serve us, and he really preached that to us daily and all that, and truly believed in that. So I always felt that I need to serve others, and do the very best that I can. And even when I didn't even know what the job entitled, I would volunteer. I'd be the one to go, yes, I'll do that, and my husband would say, why do you do those things? You spread yourself too thinly. But after being in the administration position, then I was moved in different positions. And then one of my superintendents asked me once, we'd like for you to be the principal at a high school there in Midland. And I said, oh no, that's not what I want to do. But thank you for the opportunity. I like it here at the central office and everything. And he said, well, let me give you some time to think about it during the weekend. So I thought about it, prayed about it, and I decided, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I did not want to be a principal. So he called me to the office and sat me there and said, well, have you made a decision? And I said, yes, I have, and I appreciate you thinking of me for this position, but that's not what I want to do. And that's where I learned my first experience is sometimes it's not what we want, but what somebody is going to place us somewhere where we want to be. And that's when he said, well, uh, I'm not asking you anymore. I'm telling you now that you will be the new principal at Midland High School. And I just went, oh, that's where I learned about emotional maturity too, how you hold in your emotions and understand that that's what your boss wants and that's what you need to do. So I became a principal. I was a high school principal, a middle school principal, an elementary principal, and learned so much, so much. That being able to have those relationships with students was so important to me. And so then I was awakened by cancer. I had breast cancer in 2013, and it was stage 4. And so I had to basically take leave of absence from my job. And they had moved me already from being principal back up to central office. So they wanted me to be the overseeing the leadership for high schools and the secondary campuses and for principals. And so I did that. But during that time is when I was diagnosed with cancer. And so I had to just stop in my tracks and take care of that. And by doing that, it did show me and about being resilient and having courage and dealing with this battle. And thank goodness for my family and for my husband and everything. I did then resign from Midland ISD because I had to continue my battle with cancer. And then after my cancer treatments, then I came to Region 18. And so that way there would be a calmness to all the demands in my life. And I learned a lot here as well and being of service to other districts. And then I went back to another school district where I met my executive director, Dr. Smith. He wanted me there. And so I said, okay, I'll go. And again, my husband said, you're trying to do too much. And so I went. It's a small little town outside of Midland. And was there with him for 4 or 5 years. And then he got this job here, executive director, Region 18. And he said, you want to come with me? I said, sure. I was moving back to Midland now. And during those 4 or 5 years, I was separated. I was traveling to Wink. It was an hour drive and traveling back home every day for 4 or 5 years. But then coming back to Midland, I became his assistant, and I was a deputy director here at Region 18. And now we're I'm here with my 4th year, 5th year, and now he's promoted me to executive advisor. I'm his advisor here at Region 18. He calls me the Google search. He says, I don't have to have Google search in education. I just go to her and she helps me. So that's been my hope you can kind of tell the career I've had. It's been amazing.
You know, Andrew, there's something really inspirational about listening to someone like Mrs. Jolly. Her reflection on more than 5 decades in education is just a gift.
My goodness, Gina. I mean, she'd been a teacher, a coach, a counselor, a principal at every level, a district leader. And that's, by the way, all before she took on and beat cancer and then kept going.
She literally embodies resilience.
Yeah.
As I spent time with her, honestly, I couldn't help but be emotional just hearing her story and hearing the resilience in her voice.
Yeah.
She kept showing up, not just because she had to, but because she believed that she was called to serve.
And so much so that she's still doing it to this day at Region 18. She's not coasting. She's still contributing, mentoring, advising, shaping leaders. It's amazing.
It makes you wonder, though, like, what fuels someone's fire to keep going like this? I mean, do you have that fire, Andrew?
I hope so. I haven't hit 55 years on anything.
Yeah.
Yet, so
same. I'm just in awe of her. But I wanted to know more. So we asked her what has kept her heart in it after all these years. And what she shared reminded us all of the lasting impact a teacher can have.
Yeah, in fact, like I said, I started in San Antonio. We moved to Dallas area, been in Lubbock, then here in Midland. And so, yeah, it's been through different school districts and then Region 18. But yeah, I think it's been what my dad always said is you've got to find a purpose in life. And you've got to know what that purpose is and be able to write it down, look at it every day, and live by it. And so I've tried to do that. And I think everybody needs to do that. You need to address what your true purpose in life is. It might change through years, but it give you direction and everything. And I think it helps you to realize what you really are trying to do in your life. And so I feel like my purpose in life has always been to love and serve God faithfully every day. But according to that, it goes back to serving people. And I think that's where I do believe it's done through relationships. I think my whole thing is I have to establish strong, good, honest relationships with people. And the first way you start is by interacting with them, by connecting with them, and then valuing them for who they are. And I think the best example that goes back to my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Garner, because I went to school when there was no bilingual program. I started school 1st grade, 2nd grade. I did not know how to speak or write in English. Okay. I grew up in a family of 12, 10 girls, 2 boys. Okay. And I was the middle child, but I was one that was very stubborn. In 1st and 2nd grade, I think those teachers just gave up on me. And so they put me in the back of the room and I could cut and paste really well. For 2 years, that's what I did. I did. I loved recess and I loved lunch, but I did not want to be in that classroom. So they just gave me magazines and books and I cut and paste. And boy, it was so much fun. But then I went to 3rd grade and I met Mrs. Garner. And she said, no, we're not doing that. You will learn how to read. You will learn how to write in English by the time you leave this grade. She proved to me that she was tougher than I was, but she also saw something in me because she built a relationship with me. And that relationship went all the way till I was in college because she saw something in me that nobody else could ever saw. But she never gave up in me. And she would always say, you've got something in there. You've got potential. You just need to find out what it is and you need to work on it. But she started it. When I was in college, it was my junior year. And my mom called me and told me that Miss Garner was at the hospital. And she was not going to make it through the night. And I said, well, I've just got to get on a Greyhound bus. That's about, at that time, that's all you could do. And come home. It was an 18-hour bus ride. And from Lubbock to Harlingen, and I made it to my parents picked me up at the bus stop and drove me to the hospital. And I got to visit with her, and she gave me the book. It was called Jack and Jill. And it was a book about go and see. And gave me that book. It had my name in it. And she said, this is the first book where you learn how to read in English. And so I still have it. And I've kept that. But she's the one that saw that potential. And that's what I think that keeps me going, is that there are kids out there that need that. And teachers are the first contact, that we have them for 6, 7 hours at school. Oh my gosh, the relationships that you can build with our kids today. And it starts with really interacting and connecting with them, but I think it's valuing them and seeing the potential in all of your students in that classroom. Because I can look back at all the years I've put in. I still see kids out there at the grocery store, at the post office. Oh, and one of them stopped me for speeding. He was a state trooper, and he recognized me. And he says, "Oh, Miss Jolly, I can't give you a ticket." I said, "You better not." So you get those, and it's always how, thank you for really, taking me in, for seeing my potential, or for caring for me and seeing that I could really become something that I never thought I could. So that's how it's going. That happens to me probably weekly at the grocery store usually. And they just say, "Mrs. Jolly," and I'm going, "Yeah." And it's just amazing. But yeah, through it all, I think you develop emotional capacity and resiliency. But I think it's because I always try to remember that I need to be honest, it has to be ethical, and it's going to benefit people. And that if I stick to those things, then I know that it's going to be helpful for everybody. And I do believe God has been a source of my support and guidance every time I have to embrace challenges or setbacks or everything, difficulties. But I always see them as, especially my cancer, I saw it as an awakening for me. It's time for you to make this battle and work hard to get better. So there was a lot of personal growth, mental growth as well.
That story about Mrs. Garner. Wow. I don't know about you, Andrew, but I had to sit with that one for a second. It's one thing to hear about a teacher who believed in a student, but it's another thing entirely when that very student becomes a decades-long educator who turns around and does the same thing for thousands of kids.
Yeah.
That's just a full circle legacy right there.
Oh, completely. And Mrs. Jolly's life is proof that belief is generational, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone saw potential in her when she didn't see it in herself. And then she spent her life then doing that for others. That kind of impact doesn't just happen in lesson plans or test prep. It happens when someone, an adult, a caring adult, notices you.
Mm-hmm.
When they don't let you cut and paste your way through the years, she said, when they say, you've got something in there.
And decades later, after a long, faithful, resilient career, Mrs. Jolly is still being stopped in the grocery store, still hearing from students who remember her because she believed in them. That's why this episode feels so special. Because we're not just talking about systems or strategies. We're getting a window into what happens when you lead with values, when your faith, your purpose, and your integrity become the foundation for a life of emotional resilience. Why don't you guys listen as Mrs. Jolly shares the values that shape her?
Well, the first one that comes into mind is accountability. I really believe that I'm accountable to God and others for every gift, talent, resource, and every opportunity that I have been presented in my life. I truly believe that every day, I think we're accountable for our actions, our words, and everything that we do. And when you realize that you're accountable for that. I think people see that, that you really rely on being careful about the words that you use, actions that you use, or how they see you perform. Because everybody, especially in a leadership role and as a principal, I remember everybody's watching me. How's she going to react to this? How's she going to talk to this kid? How's she going to deal with this suspension on a teacher, having to let somebody go, death of a student, and all this. So I think you have to take ownership of your actions, and I don't think people do that. So that's one of my most important core values is accountability. My second one is courage. I think that when you're facing uncertainties and obstacles, uh, you got to look at them as opportunities for you to grow. How are you going to come out of it? And what have you got to learn from it? And so I think it just helps you to be stronger and develop courage. It also helps you to push yourself to do better. And I think that comes as a result of the challenges and uncertainties that you face. But I think also under those situations, you show courage to others. If you can display that to them, that they'll see that. You have to model. As a leader, you're modeling every day your actions, words, how your composure is, and everything like that. You can't fake it. You might fake it for a while, but in the long term, no, you can't fake that. So I think courage is another value that I really, and then there's compassion. And I think compassion is one of my other values that I pick is because you display that kindness and empathy and the needs of others. And I think I saw that from Mrs. Garner, my third grade teacher. She showed compassion to me. I mean, she could have easily just grabbed my hair and shaken me, all over the place and said, "You're such a stubborn young lady. You need to get your act together." But she didn't. She didn't give up on me, and she showed that compassion and she valued me. That was the other thing, and that's what I've always wanted to display to other people, but especially to my students, because right now in our education, our family traditional unit's not there. There's not a father, the mom, and all that. So you have to really get to know those students and value them and let them see what their potential is for their future. Sometimes you have to get down deep, deep down to find out what's really going in their lives. But they bring a lot of, as they call it, baggage with them when they come to school. And the only sense of security and safeness and love or caring is there at school. And so we have to be that first stage of starting that for students. They'll remember that. They'll remember how you cared for it and the compassion you had. And then the other one is my ability of adaptability. I'm going to have to say, I value that because to change and adapt to all your new situations, especially as an educator. Education now, it just changes. I don't know about every other state, but in the state of Texas, we change curriculum every few years. And testing, we're changing. We're changing the rules of how you need to conduct things, discipline, everything like that. There's new rules all the time. And so I think you have to adapt to that, have that ability to change and adapt to it, and to face those challenges and embrace them as opportunities and not revert to the, "Oh, I don't like this. I don't know why they did this." You can question that, but at some point, you're going to have to just say, "Okay, this is what's done. It's law. We're going to have to do it. Let's all get on the bandwagon and let's do what's right." And then I'm going to say the last one has to be honesty. We lost that. It's the foundation of everything. And I think now we need to bring that honesty back and trust, integrity, and just ethical conduct. Because telling the truth is telling the truth. And you have to end by that. And I'm afraid we just don't have that. It's like somebody told me, a half truth is still a lie, you know? Yeah, still a lie. I have people that come in or tell me, "Well, I'm just going to tell you this and this, but I really don't." And I tell, "You're just lying. I mean, face it. just say, this is not the truth, but this, I rather hear that you're telling me what you need to be telling me and not try to throw something at me that's not true. Because I can smell a skunk when I can, when it's wrong. And that's what my dad used to say every time he used to gather the girls. We used to be really a lot of trouble to my dad. Poor dad. I don't think how he survived with so many women in that house. But he used to say, I'm going to throw that skunk on the table and it's going to get smelly. But we always, the truth will come out. But those are, I think, my top 5 values.
Wow, what wisdom, friends. Mrs. Jolly shared 5 core values, and not just buzzwords, but lived out convictions that clearly fuel the way Mrs. Jolly leads and loves. Accountability, courage, compassion, adaptability, and honesty. Those aren't just leadership traits, they're pillars of a resilient life.
Yeah. To me, it's no wonder that she's had such staying power in education, right? She leads with integrity, pivots when she has to. She never loses sight of her calling to serve. And that's why her story resonates so deeply with me. She's not talking in hypotheticals, right? Every single thing she said has been lived over 55 years.
And if you've ever felt exhausted or overwhelmed or discouraged in your leadership role, just listening to Mrs. Jolly can remind you why you started in the first place. Her words can recenter you. Maybe even listen back to this after you've finished the episode, just to hear her voice and her story help you. We knew we had to ask her, what's the secret sauce? Like, what helps you stay grounded and inspired after all these years? Listen to what she said.
And I want educators to really listen to this. It takes time. It really does. It just doesn't come quickly. And when I first started, it was like a leadership journey of trying to establish. I thought it was establish authority, and it's not that. It's not establishing authority. Like, I am your principal, or I am your director, or I'm this or that. It's not the position. It's not the title. I think you have to establish yourself with people by building trust and also honesty. And it comes with those relationships that I mentioned before about interacting and connecting and valuing people. But establishing leadership and that uh, emotional well-being and everything, that grows through all your years of experience. And the thing I hope people realize is that, our educators, is that it takes time. And the thing about it is, I'm still growing. I don't stop. It hasn't stopped at just 54 years. And there are times when I have to question myself, did I do that right? But I think it's good for you to see your challenges, your opportunities, and revisit them after something has occurred. And that's what I did through my cancer. I did that even when I was told I had to go be a principal at high school, and I did not want to go. I had to then learn to accept that and then see it as an opportunity. And then after I was in that role, wow, did I even grow more, simply because I allowed myself to see what things were going to open up for me. And that was in building that relationship with the teachers and with those students. And it brought more value into my life because I looked at it differently than, okay, I've been told I have to go to this job, or I've been told now that I have to look at this. So I think too, as you get into those leadership roles, when you see yourself not as an authority, but see yourself as a person that's been placed in this job of responsibility, is taking it and then learning how to delegate effectively. Now, that's what I've done. I can't do it all myself. I used to be that one. If I get there early and I'm the last one to leave, wow, everybody will see that. No, it doesn't work that way. No, it's learning that you can build a team and you try to delegate effectively and building that trust with your team. So that way it's not emotionally demanding for me to do everything on my own. There's other people that can do a lot of the job responsibilities that I have. They might not do it exactly like I would like them to do, but you know what? They get the job done. Okay. And if they get the job done, that's what you do. That's one of the things when we got here, Region 18, Dr. Smith and I, he told me, okay, I know that you're thinking about retiring. And so what I want you to do is to build a team. Build a team that does all the different parts of your job, which was deputy director. So I started building the team. And now I have an amazing team. Now, do they do everything exactly like I did it? No. But you know what? They're doing it better. They're great at what they're doing. And in fact, been in doing things that are so new and with computers and everything like that and graphics and so forth. So I've got a team now, so where he was able to now put me as an executive advisor and let that team do all the other responsibilities to run this service center. And they're doing an exceptional job. I mean, every year I'm impressed with them because they're young, but they're go-getters. Sometimes I have to pull them back a little bit and tell them, hey, balance your work life and your family life. You don't do it now, you'll regret it later. Okay. You can't turn back the clock. But I also try to teach them about balancing responsibilities and expectations. They're responsible for things, but don't make your expectations so high you can't even reach them and everything like that. So those are things that I try to help them with. And I try to pull them always away. Don't pressure yourself to be always on the go or on things and always right. And not trying to do it all yourself. There's other capable people, and you'll find out that there are, and they can work a little faster than you can, but and they do the same, get the same results. So I think that you know, and I try the best thing I tell you too is I try to lead by example. Uh, I see them every morning when I get here. I'm still an early bird. I get here between at 6:30 in the morning, and some of them don't get here till 7:30 or 8. And then that's okay. But I make sure that I go by and see the whole team individually, see how they're doing, anything that they need to be addressed or whatever, talk to me. But I've got that, they know that pattern. If I don't come by their office, they're already, are you here? Is something wrong? Or whatever. But you have to lead by example. And that's where you establish a supportive environment. And I think that's what helped me a lot in my emotional well-being. It's just realizing that you can't do it all yourself, that there's other capable people. Find them, give them that work, allow them to grow, allow them to make mistakes, allow them to voice objections, and redirect them. But you've got to be able to also have self-care for yourself. Or you're not an education, it'll drain you if you don't.
All right, there it is. That's the secret sauce. Did you catch that? It's not about title. It's not about control. It's about trust and relationships and building a team that can rise together.
It's so good. And you hear she says, I'm still growing. More than 50 years in education. And she says that, right? That alone to me is such a powerful reminder, as well as just a truth that I need to swallow, right? We never outgrow the need for reflection. We never outgrow humility. We never outgrow the chance to become better leaders.
And on top of that, maybe even better humans.
Yeah, that's true.
Mrs. Jolly models what it means to serve well, to let go of perfection and create space for others to lead, even if they don't do it exactly like you would.
It happens.
And sometimes, as she said, they might even, watch this, do it better.
Truth bomb. Yeah, I think her words to me hit hard in the best way, right? Don't try and carry it all. Don't try and be everything. Invite others in and lead by example with care and consistency.
All right, so coming up next, we asked Mrs. Jolly what she would say to anyone in a season of transition. Maybe you're feeling tired or unsure whether to stay in education. Her response? Well, you'll just have to hear it for yourself. Sit back and be encouraged.
It's interesting because last year, my daughter is a teacher, or was a teacher, I'm going to say. had been teaching for 14 years. And then last year she said, Mom, I can't do it anymore. So it's so demanding. I don't have a family life. I'm struggling. I've lost that drive, that enthusiasm, and everything like that. We talked about it for a long time, and finally, I just finally just told her this. So this would be my advice for somebody with a transition if they're struggling. You've got to always remember you are there for the students. You've got to have that passion, that enthusiasm, and that drive. When you have those three ingredients, students see it. And when you build those relationship with kids, it's hard to leave. It was hard for her to leave. She was just devastated and everything. But I also know that now that she's in something else, doing some other things, she's in real estate. She loves what she's doing now. I don't see that her attitude changed completely, her positive attitude and everything. So the job is demanding. I would tell anyone that's going or thinking about leaving, it is demanding, but you've got to tell yourself, what is it that you really want to do? If your drive and enthusiasm is not in teaching and you are not into it in the classroom and you feel like it's a burden and it's the love is not there anymore, then I hate to say this, but they would probably need to leave. Okay. It is a hard job. There's no question about it. When I was in education and teaching and coaching, the demands were so different now. So much is being placed on them. I mean, they have to be the teacher, the parent, the counselor, the nurse, everything. And then also being there for them. But I think I would tell them, please, please remember that teaching is a gift. And so if you use that gift, because I think everybody's potential is that God has given us different gifts. What do you do with your gifts in return to God? And so that's the way I look at it. My potential is God's gift to me. What I do with my potential is my gift to Him. So, what gift are you going to give in return? Because whatever, to me, teaching is probably the greatest cause for service to our kids, especially during these times. They need somebody, and the one person that could really give them is a teacher. Yeah. You make that connection, it's a connection for life. And I can tell you that from all the kids that have come by and seen me or talked to me or whatever. I would never have. I had one kid just a month ago. He told me, "Oh, Miss Jolly, I don't know how you could have stood me in school. I was mean and ugly. I was in your office all the time, cussing, using drugs and everything." And he says, "I went to prison for 17 years and I'm out. And I think the only person that really saw some potential in me was you." And I thought, wow, what an amazing story that that young man told me. And so he said, "I've gone through everything that you could think of and made mistakes and everything, but I always thought about you because you always said you've got potential. You just got to dig inside and find it and it will come." And so he's working and in the oil field, but he's doing well. It took him a long time to find himself, he said, but he found him. And I think that's what we have to do for our kids. It's not going to happen for everybody, but somebody's got to have a hero there, someone that can say, "Yeah, I'm here for you. I care for you." And it's in the classroom. It just is. It's in the classroom. We got it for that many hours. And when you start building that relationship and that connection with them, and they see that you value them and that they have purpose in life, and you can find it for them, then hey, what a great potential or gift that you're giving to that child. Yeah.
This conversation has been such a gift. Mrs. Jolly just gave us a whole framework for reflection. Whether you're staying in education, considering a shift, or just feeling worn down, hear her words. She reminded us that at the heart of this work is the love, we have for students. And I was especially struck by her reminder that teaching is a gift. It's a calling. And you could hear it in her voice, how deeply she believes that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can also hear how her legacy lives on, right? Not just in classrooms, but she talked about in the oil fields and the grocery stores and even in second chances with her students. I love that story she told, the student who said, "You saw potential in me when no one else did." That's the power. That's it. That's showing up over and over with compassion and conviction. That's what it does. This entire conversation has been such a rich offering of wisdom and heart and perspective. It's also been a beautiful reminder that resilience doesn't mean doing it all. It means knowing what matters and leading from that place.
So as we wrapped up our time together, we asked Mrs. Jolly if she had any parting words for educators, whether they're just starting out, leading at the top, or maybe somewhere in between. And of course, she made sure to share something great. Listen in.
I have a saying here that says, meaning emerges when you align your actions with your purpose. That's why I say you have to know what your purpose in life. When you find what your purpose in life is, it will have meaning because all your actions will have meaning. And that meaning is your gift of what you value. Yeah.
What an incredible conversation. I'm kind of sad it's over. I am.
Let's rewind.
Let's just rewind and do it all over again. I'm so thankful we had the chance to learn from someone like Mrs. Jolly, someone who has lived and breathed this work for over 5 decades and still shows up with joy and with humility and with heart. And I know, friends, there's more Mrs. Jollies out there.
Yeah.
I know in your buildings and in your districts, and maybe they're not still working, but maybe they're in your community. I really encourage you to seek them out.
Yeah.
We can learn so much.
Yeah, it's those people who have been through the shifts and the challenges and the triumphs, right? Through it all, people like Mrs. Jolly model something that's more and more rare today. Something we've been talking about all season, Gina, and that is resilience, right? A resilience that's grounded in purpose. Resilience that's grounded in purpose. Her leadership, I think, has never really been about position.
Not at all.
It's been about service. She said that so many times in our interview with her, right? And her story is such a powerful reminder that emotional strength and educational leadership are not separate things, right? They have to go hand in hand, especially if you want to have a long career.
And on top of that, she's saying to us that she's committed to still learning, to still growing, still mentoring and showing up for others. She's such a great model that resilience isn't just bouncing back. It's being deeply rooted in your purpose and letting that guide you every step of the way.
Man, Gina, this is good.
Really, really good.
Such a meaningful conversation. So many good insights. I think we got to go on to one of our favorite traditions. And it maybe has never been harder to do this, but it's time for DMI. DMI, of course, stands for Don't Miss It. Gina and I each will highlight one thing, if we can, from today's episode that we don't think you should miss. So, Gina, you want to kick us off?
Thinking about this interview and what Mrs. Jolly taught us, she shared that when we pursue our calling and we live it out with values and live those values out every day, we are giving that gift back to God. She talked about her faith and she said, what else would I do? My service is a service back to God. He gave me these gifts and it's a service back. And I know that our listeners we have all different beliefs or we don't believe in anything, right? And so this isn't, I'm not evangelizing at this moment, but what I will say is that when you have that type of perspective that a higher power is guiding you, is equipping you, is empowering you, that just pours almost like, gasoline on your little flame of resilience, right? It makes you just have a power and a fire in your belly like Mrs. Jolly. And thinking about her saying that has just stuck with me in a way that probably has transformed me for good. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. How about you?
Here's what I'm struck by, Gina. The very first episode of this season, we talked about the power of purpose.
Yeah, we
to
did.
help you as you're trying to be a resilient leader. And then we sat down at the end of this season with somebody who's been doing it for over 50 years. And what did they say sustained them?
Yeah.
Purpose.
Yes.
Values, remembering why I'm doing this and who I'm doing it for. And so I'm starting to feel pretty validated that we were talking about the right things. But it's also just a reminder, like I don't have to tell our listeners the stats. They live them every single day. There are fewer and fewer education degrees that are being got by young people today. Education is often not being seen as what it once was, a place where there's hope and investment in the next generation. Instead, the other stat is that most teachers, or a large majority of teachers, a growing majority of teachers, are quitting after 5 years. And so when we're talking about how do we encourage more people to take this path, and then once young people have stepped onto this path, how do we encourage them to stay on this path?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're going to talk to our guest today, what she would tell you is, as soon as possible, as we're investing in the next generation of teachers, we need to help them connect the dots. This was not a career choice that they chose because it's easy. It's not a career choice that they chose because their mom or their dad did it before them, or because they really liked that one teacher in high school.
Right.
We've got to help them connect to something deeper than that. If we really want to see the next generation of teachers have the same kind of longevity that we're seeing here in this conversation today, it's going to be because we help them connect to a deeper purpose, and that they formed values that drove them, right? I guarantee you will not find an educator who made it past 30 years, let alone 50, who cannot rattle off like she did for us what their values are. Accountability, courage, compassion, adaptability, honesty. They just come right out because you got to have principles like that if you're going to sustain for the long haul. These are all just great reminders, and they're honestly true in any industry. But I think especially in education, where our mission, our purpose, it's right there for our taking. The students are right there in front of us, but it's still so easy in times of difficulty and challenge and frustration, anxiety, depression, whatever it is that we're facing, to forget.
Yeah.
And if we do not have a direct line to that mission, that purpose, those values, then we'll miss what's staring us right in the face. The next generation of young people who are ready to change the world if we'll give them the chance.
Well said. Well said, friend.
So good.
Thank you, Mrs. Jolly, for just sharing your wisdom, your heart, your faith with us. You've taught us so much about resilience, and we're better for it.
Friends, we've got to say thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of the School on a Mission podcast. As we close out season 3 of School on a Mission, I just want to pause and say thank you for joining us on this season's journey. This season, we had the privilege of sitting with leaders at every stage, from a first-year educator just stepping up into the calling to a leader serving in education for 55 years. We heard from classroom teachers and building district leaders, and from leaders serving in education-adjacent spaces, all helping us see the mission field in and around our schools more clearly. And through every conversation, one theme rang clear: the importance of emotional resilience and well-being. We talked about the power of scheduled self-care, not just talking about it, but modeling it for our teams. We talked about presence, about the discipline of listening well, and about leading others from a place of authenticity and humility. Gen Z, both the students we serve and the emerging leaders joining our staff, are craving transparency and realness. They want leaders who will be vulnerable, who will collaborate and communicate across generations and across different spaces. We were reminded that humor can break down walls and create safe spaces for all of us to grow. And we kept coming back to this: remembering your purpose. Recalling your why is a powerful way to refuel when the days are long and the work is heavy. It helps us lead with intention, and it anchors us in the truth that the mission of shaping young lives is not just about what we teach, but about who we are as we teach it. Thank you for being on mission with us. Make sure you get out that pen, paper, sticky note, or even the back of your hand and write down one action you're going to take this week. As we close out this season, friends, remember to take care of yourself. Keep laughing, keep listening, keep recalling your why, and keep leading well. We'll see you in season 4.